Good day to you and how you be, everybody. Jan Agosto here. Welcome to Taino Ink, the #1 print and chill channel on YouTube. Thank you for stopping by. Yes, today I have some tasks that I have to do. So while I'm doing that, I have a common question that I get a lot is type of mesh that I use for certain type of ink, certain type of, specialty inks. What are they? What these mesh mean? What numbers are best? Well, one of the questions is, which is my favorite mesh count? And one of my favorite mesh counts that I use, I got most of my mesh is mostly that, is the 156. The 156, maybe your suppliers have different numbers, different suppliers almost there. So you will have a supplier probably don't carry the 156, they'll carry the 160, but it's that close. The 110, I used it a lot before, but I have switched to the 156. It deposits enough ink, but it doesn't leave it all bulky. Still leaves a nice smooth. The opacity still show. So that is one of my favorite mesh count that I use. The most that I use is 156. I have a chart that I got of all the mesh counts and what are they for. So like I said before, your supplier might carry a different number, but just keep it as close to that number. Like I said, 156, they only carry 160, get a 160. That's the way. 200, they don't have 200, they have a 205 or 196. Get as close to that number. So here's the first mesh count that you might not need now. I will not recommend for you to buy these mesh only unless you have a job to do. But the 24 mesh count. 24, remember, the lower the number of the mesh, the bigger the holes. So that 24 mesh count is usually used for glitter inks because they have a lot of pretty big particles, and if you try to do it on a 60, you're gonna get some particles in, but there's gonna be still some particles that's gonna stay right in the mesh, then go through the hole. But I will say a 24 mesh count is perfect for glitter. You're gonna see that glitter showing up on your print. The other one is the 30 mesh. Now this one is for shimmer inks. It's just like glitter, but the particles are much smaller. So you'll be able to get through that 30 mesh. And also for the crystallina ink, the one I used the 60 on there, but they suggest a 30 mesh. I believe that's a lot. Maybe you'll see more crystallina if I use the 30 mesh, but that's what they say for the 30 mesh. The other one is the 60 mesh. Now the 60 mesh is great for team wear, player numbers, puff inks, and metallic ink. For team wear, it's perfect. For numbers, like when you're doing those numbers on the back, you want those numbers to show really good, and it's a lot of ink when you put in those numbers. So it's better than doing it on a 60 than a 110, because then you're gonna have to flash and you're gonna have to do it again. And remember, these team wear, they stretch, they use it a lot. So you just, with one pass, with a 60 mesh, one pass on that number one on back of the jersey. Oh, that's all you need. No flashing, no nothing. Perfect with that. And puff ink. When you want to use puff, I use puff at 110. And it didn't really, raised up as much as I wanted. And I kept adding more puff additive to the ink to get it up there. But if you want to keep that 10% of puff additive on your ink, go with a 60 mesh, because now you're depositing more ink, and once the heat hits it, it's gonna raise up a little more. The other one is the 83 mesh. 83 mesh is good for cold and hot split transfers, and it also is good for heavy underbase. You want to do like hoodies and you need that underbase, go with a 60 mesh, because that just one pass is gonna give you a good underbase for like the hoodies, because the hoodie tends to absorb a lot of that ink. But it's good for plastisol transfer paper, the cold or the hot, split up. But it's better because you want to deposit enough ink on that paper. When I did it before, I did it again on a 110. And when I heat pressed and I was peeling off, some of the ink was not really sticking. I guess the heat dried it too much that it didn't go through, or not enough were able to stay on the shirt. And once I did it on the 83 mesh, perfect. So if you're interested in doing plastisol transfer papers is same thing. Instead of printing on a shirt, you're printing on this piece of paper. You're gonna put some powder on it. You're gonna cure it just a little bit, and then take it to your heat press, place the paper, heat press it, and peel off. And all you're doing is transferring the ink from your press to a paper, from the paper to the shirt, which is the best when you're gonna do an events. Why print 100 t-shirts to sell, and then if you don't sell them, you're done? Just go get a heat press. Take your heat press, and anyone that wants a shirt or anything, just take the paper and heat press it. It's awesome. It's beautiful when you do that. I used to do those plastisol transfer paper at the beginning so much. The next one is the 110 mesh. That's the basic. That's the regular artwork with average details. No very fine lines or halftones. No halftones, no very fine lines. It's for big text, bulky text, solid big text, or design. But when it has little lines, like in between here, like little detail line spacing, you don't want to go with a 110. That's why I use a 156. The other one is the 125 mesh, which I never use. I jumped from 110 straight to 156. 125 is same thing, regular artwork with average details, no very fine lines or halftones. Basically the same thing as a 110. A lot of suppliers do not carry the 125, they carry the 110. But if you could get your hands on the 125, get the 125 and forget about the 110. That's when you're printing these nice soft style t-shirts, thin. You don't want it to feel too bulky with that ink, too bulky on the shirt. Okay, the other one is the 140 mesh. Same thing, regular artwork with average details, no very fine lines or halftones. Another mesh that they use, 145. You asking why are these from 110, 125, 145? Okay, let's say I need an underbase and I use a regular t-shirt that is soft style and I use a 110. I don't want to drop other colors on top that are, let's say, 110 as well. I'd rather just put a 110 that is solid white. You know, there's no gaps, it's just solid white, and then you start adding all the other colors. And if you could add them at 145, perfect. If you got 125, good, but less ink to the shirt makes it feel much smoother, not too thick on the shirt. And the other one is the 156, which over here they have 162. So 162, 156, like I said, those are my favorite one. Why? Because you could use regular artwork, semi-detailed artwork, and large halftones. I did a shirt with halftones where there were nice little large dots. I did it on a 110, but then I did it on a 156. Look much, much better. For 156, 162, those are the good mesh to use. The other one is the 200 mesh. People also use it for underbase for detailed prints and artwork. So if you have a detail and halftones and you need an underbase, you don't want to pop that 110 underbase big thick. You don't want that. What you want to do is leave it on a 200, 230 mesh. A 230 mesh, you get you put the underbase, and then you see how many colors you piling on top, and a 200 very little because small little details. You don't want nothing to just cover up. You don't want that thickness to be going on that underbase. So keep that underbase on a 200 if you're gonna be using halftones or fine details. And the last one is the 305 mesh. Hey, that's a 4-color process. That's the one that I use for CMYK 305. I have done the 230, but the 305, it comes out much, much better. But if you're gonna deal with a 305 mesh and deal with those halftones, make sure you have a real good exposure unit. And the film has to be really, really good film. But that exposure unit, when I had the older exposure unit with the blue UV light bulbs, it gave me issues. I was able to get it, but I went through a few practice and messed up a few screens just to get that 305, all those little dots not to erase, because sometimes it just got out. The little dots just blew out. And I didn't understand, or some dots didn't even want to wash off. But once I got the exposure unit, the Anatol Aurora exposure unit, those 3 or 5 halftones, now I use when I'm gonna do these little CMYK colors. I should make a video CMYK. It's been such a long time. But those are the screens. It says these mesh counts apply to textile and hard goods as well. Okay, wow, that's pretty good. For printing with solvent-based inks and add on, add specialty products. Mesh counts of 230 to 305 will usually produce desired results, as a thin ink deposit is usually indicated. Okay, so that's the questions I get a lot, especially people that are starting new. I am new to this, so what mesh should I buy? Don't buy all these low number like 30, 25. Focus on your first start printing. You could get 110, 156, and a 230. Those are the screens. If you could get 6 110, 6 156, and 6 230, you'll be good. You're gonna be able to do every job that clients will ask for. And once you get better at the exposing time and printing, then you start messing around with these specialty inks, puff, glow in the dark, all that. And also the foil. I forgot, I didn't mention the foil. When you're doing foil, you want that foil because you're gonna have that foil adhesive. And you want that foil, you could do it on a good 80 mesh. 80 mesh, you want to deposit enough of that adhesive so the foil could stick on. And if I did 110 and it still gave me some little spots that the foil did not grab. But you want to see the full foil on those shirts. Go with an 80 or 60 mesh. Try the 60 mesh, 80 mesh, and you're going to get real good, nice foil printing where you're gonna take it. It's just like plastisol transfer paper, same thing. You gotta take it to the heat press. Once you heat press it, you let it cool down the foil, and then you tear it out, and you're gonna see the whole design on the foil there. Oh man, that was a good one. Thank you for that question. I was researching and looking at the most common questions I get a lot on YouTube, and it's that one. People are starting new. The first thing they want to know is about the mesh count. What are we all about? So if you like this video, press that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Be thankful always, be grateful always, and just let God take you on the ride. Peace out.